And we are live. Hello and welcome everyone to today's panel, organized as part of Cinema, a project which unites 4 cinemas from 4 European countries. So alongside Mesnik in Ptuj from Slovenia, those are Cinema House from Bulgaria, Kino Urania from Croatia, and Tisza Mozi from Hungary. And we are lucky for this event to be supported by Slovenian Film Database. My name is Tommy Petek, and I'm pleased to welcome guests from across the continent today. And of course, above all, it is a great honor and a pleasure to have with us here today the talented Slovenian director, now very much a household name in Slovenia, Rok Biček, who has joined us 3 times before at Kino Ptuj, and now we're delighted to welcome him in the online space. Rok, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tommy, for such a nice introduction. I feel like I'm a guest in a special show. I mean, I've never been a guest in any kind of these shows, so it's really nice. Online show.
Yeah. Well, there's a first for everything, and we're pleased to have you. So guys, just a quick note, if any questions pop into your heads as we go on, don't forget to use the chat box if you're tuning in on Zoom, and the comment section if you're on Facebook, and I'll pass the questions on to Rok. So now let's finally make a start. Rok, a few words about you first. You graduated from the Academy of Theatre, Radio, Film and Television in Ljubljana, Slovenia. And then you worked on several short films before 2013, which was the year your first feature film, Class Enemy, which we watched just prior to today's event, came out. It instantly won public and critical acclaim. You presented it at several film festivals, both at home and around the world. It won in Venice in 2013. It was nominated for the Lux Prize at the European Parliament in 2014. It won big at the Slovene Film Festival. And that's just to give a few of the film's numerous accolades. So first of all, I'd like to know, how did that feel? You know, first feature film, and it goes on to pretty much sweep the film festivals in Europe and beyond. How did that feel for you?
To be honest, it was quite stressful because I think that no one expected this because I somehow calm with the fact that we are working not a happy story, and that we have non-professional actors and their parents in the role of their parents, so actual parents, and actually all leading position in the film crew were newcomers. So DOP was for the first time on film, set designer, makeup artist, costume designer. They were all first-timers, newcomers, and that's why no one had. I mean, I didn't feel the pressure for making that we have to make a big hit, because I said we have all the how to say it. I didn't feel the pressure to that we need to have a lot of a big box office and so on. I said, okay, we will have maybe 1,000 viewers in cinema in Slovenia. We will go to some festivals, and that's it. I mean, so because of this, it was easier to work on a film, because
yeah, you weren't burdened by the
yeah.
expectations. Yeah.
Yes.
So I imagine it must have been quite overwhelming afterwards, like when the awards started popping up.
I mean, in a way, yeah, but this is also connected with a big stress, especially if you are not used to this kind of things. But yeah, you can get used to it quite fast. I mean, luckily we have this opportunity to visit a lot of film festivals and to get to know a lot of great people of the festivals, and it was really intense year 2013 and 2014. Because of the Lux Prize, we actually prolonged the life of the film for 1 year. Yeah, and I must say that this was really nice experience.
And so, but it was also, so you've said that many of the actors were first timers and many of the crew were first timers as well. So, but was it, I imagine since before that you'd had loads of experience making short films. So I imagine this experience must have felt quite new and different for you too. I mean, it was, after all, your first feature film.
I mean, the feature film is a marathon compared to a short, which is, you can say it, just a sprint. I mean, if something goes wrong on a short film, it cannot go so wrong that, I mean, in 5 days it's over. So if there is some big problem, you know that, okay, we just have to survive this day, and then actually we are already at the end. But the feature, if something goes wrong, and it always goes wrong, it's quite difficult to survive. I mean, I know that I've never been so tired than I was during the shooting of this film. I still remember that feeling. And I needed 2 weeks probably to recharge the batteries after the shooting.
So did it get easier after your second feature? Well, your second very successful feature film, The Family. Did it get any easier after that?
In a way, it was even harder because it's a documentary, but it was in production for a long period. With some breaks, it was actually a time frame of 10 years. But it's totally different way of making observational documentary, where I was alone with the camera and protagonists, and when you are working with the crew and with actors. Yeah, I mean, now I had I made a short film in August. We had 5 shooting days, and I worked with non-professional actors, with 2 young boys. They were 9 while we were shooting, and 4 teenagers and 1 adult man. So they were all non-professional actors, but very professional in a way. I mean, it was really a big pleasure to work with them, and I think that this is something that interests me a lot. I mean, I see some kind of something that drives me into this direction to work with non-professionals in this unpredicted energy that is hidden somewhere, and you have to dig it out. That is something that I enjoy doing, and also films that are made in this way are films that I like a lot. So this is somehow connected.
Okay, so you said that mainly, well, most of the actors in Class Enemy were non-professional actors, and yet you do feature some big names of the Slovenian film industry. For example, Igor Samobor, Natasha Barbara Grachner. So how was that? I mean, who was better to work with, the non-professionals, or let's say easier to work with, the non-professionals or the pillars of Slovenian film?
I mean, This was 8 years ago when we were doing this film. So I was really, I would say, a young boy at that time. So, and it was my first feature, and because of this, it was also quite demanding to work with big names. It was not hard, but it was a challenge. I mean, like it is always, or it should be, because if it's not a challenge, then this is the first signal that you're doing something wrong. And I really like the result of the mixture of professionals and non-professionals, and that's something that I intend to use also on my next feature that is now in development, and I hope that we will make it next year. Let's see what will happen.
Well, fingers crossed. So, but what if we move back to the story? So, I'm sure many of us want to know what inspired the story. I mean, where did the idea come from? Was it partially or autobiographical or something like that, or did it stem from a lived experience on your part?
I mean, story is inspired on true events that happened in the high school, in my high school, when I was in the first year. A girl from a third year committed a suicide, and after her death, her classmates made some rebellion, and I mean rebellion, and they prepared some manifesto and they read it on the school radio. They put the candles on the main stairway. So a lot of scenes that you've seen in the film tonight were actually inspired by true events. And then together with co-writers, we use those true events and write the script in a way that it was possible to tell the story effectively in hour and a half. And so what is the main difference between real events and the fiction is that in reality there was no professor Zupan that was accused, but there was the school system that was accused by the students. But if you would like to portray the system, that would be impossible. So to make an effective dramatic structure, we needed a person, antagonist, and that was Professor Zupan. And being a professor of German language was in a way quite logical decision because of all the history that our nation is carrying in I would say in the small brains here behind. Whenever someone is talking with you in German and he is rude or demanding and strict, and you are in conflict with them, your first reaction would be, "You're such a Nazi." So we use this, I would say, old memory that is hidden somewhere in our nation, in our history, to use it as the part of the main conflict, or a trigger for a conflict.
So is that why you use references from Thomas Mann's novels or Thomas Mann's quotations as well? Did it come afterwards, or did you know from the start, yes, we wanted to use Thomas Mann because of everything he said on mourning, on death, or did you just did that come after?
I mean, when we decided for German language, Thomas Mann was again a logical consequence, because he's well known for his stand against the fascism, and also actually I asked my high school teacher of German for some novel of Thomas Mann that could be appropriate for the students in high school, and she said, yeah, actually we had a couple of years ago in the fourth year we had this novel, Tonio Kruger, and you should read it. And actually I just read the short summary and said, wow, actually this is great, because with the relationship between Tonio and his friend, I now forgot his name, we could do the metaphor for the relationship between Mojca and Sabina. Thank you. So all of a sudden, all the puzzles start to get together in a big picture, and the same was with the music. I from the atmosphere that I felt in, or I saw in my vision, I said this should be something like Chopin is playing. And then I said, okay, I didn't know the whole opus, and then I said, okay, let's go in a German way. Let's do everything precise. And I opened the wiki and search for the whole list for his whole opus. And I opened the YouTube and I went song by song, piece by piece, listening the whole opus. And when I came to the Raindrops, for this, I forgot the number, I think it's 14 something, preludius something, yeah. I said that's it. And then we found a really great piece on YouTube. It's performed by, I think it's Valentina Igoshin or something like this. I mean, it's really long time since I checked this piece, and she's really playing this in a way that you can get the goosebumps. And then we were trying to get in contact with her, but she was not answering any email, nothing, because we wanted to get the license for her performing. But then at the end, our well-known pianist Katja Sinkovic played this, and we used this version, which is also great. But the common mistake of filmmakers with using the music is that you're editing your film, and then you are searching on YouTube for a good piece of music, and then you find something and you put this piece into the editing, and then you fell in love with this, and then you cannot get the rights, and then nothing is as good as this is. And so if you are doing a film and you would like to have a music, don't do this mistake. Don't put YouTube clips onto the timeline, but talk with your producers, get the rights first, and then try to fall in love with some music.
That's actually a great piece of advice. Yeah, I hope everyone made notes. But yeah, so I was going to talk to you about location as well, because the film, pretty much the entire film, takes place in the ever so slightly claustrophobic environment of the secondary school. it's only at the very end that the characters succeed at breaking out, you know, so to speak. And even Sabina's there on that boat, gazing longingly at the waves. So what's the significance of the location or locations?
This location is the actual high school where my high school where
Oh,
this story, similar story, happened, and the high school actually represents the microcosmos, and it was our deliberate decision that we don't want to go outside, and that's why you can never see through the windows, because we somehow had a theory that the class as a protagonist is present only inside of the school. In the moment when they are going out of the school, they're not anymore the group protagonist. I mean, it's logical, and yeah, actually, it's like a boxing ring. Two fighters, class on one side, teacher on the other. They're fighting, and at the end there is no winner. And at the moment when they realize this, they're free to go out of the ring, and they're going into the life, carrying their own burden further
oh,
into the
that's
life. I mean, this is a theory, metaphor. I don't know if this is clear to the viewers, but I mean, I think it's quite simple.
yeah, we can definitely pick up on that. But yeah, the metaphor is so fascinating. I mean, I love it. And also, so you keep saying, you keep calling the class, so everyone that's in the classroom as the protagonist or protagonists, and then Professor Zupan as the antagonist. And you also, there's, because this is a very multifaceted film, in my opinion, there's death slash suicide, there's the figure of a stern teacher, and then rebellious teenagers. So the point of view, I'd say, as a viewer, is quite fragmented, and you can't really tell straight away who the protagonist is. So it's quite interesting for you to say that you think, for you, the class were the protagonists then, and that was kind of their rebellion was the main theme, would you say?
No, actually, you got me now. This is the easy way out to explain some things, or I would say this is the first step, because at the beginning of the film, on the first 30 minutes, I think that everyone thinks that students are protagonists, but then at some point the positions start to to change, or at least you become confused, because probably majority of people start to feel that students are doing something wrong, that or that they don't have the right to do all the actions that they did. At the same time, at the beginning of the film, you think that professor is really too harsh on them, and that he's not reacting in a right way, or that he should react differently, at least. But deeper, then we go to the story. Clearer it is that the things are not so black and white, and there are no uh, easy solution for this. So, and I think that this is maybe the biggest achievement of the film, that that it shows that things are not black and white in real world, because it would be, I mean, this was, I think that this was the hardest thing to achieve, because it could easily happen that that the story would become black and white, or there our point of view could become black and white.
Well,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think you create a great kind of sense of realism. It feels like every character feels like a human being, even the teacher, as we see, yeah, throughout the film. Yeah, that's brilliant what you do with the film. And also with the characters, let's stay on the characters. So the characters in the film try and cope with death and mourning in their own ways. And even before, for example, even before Sabina's death, mourning already seems to be a leitmotif with Luca's mother who dies before the film begins. So how important was it for you to show those different reactions and points of view? Because although you do say that the characters, so the class are the protagonists, but still we have slightly different points of view among them as well. For example, Moitza today, the way they react are vastly different. So how important was it for you to show those different reactions, points of view?
This was quite crucial, because if the reactions wouldn't be different, there is no use to have all those different characters in the story. So, but it's also true that while I was doing the research in the class that was the motor of this rebellion, I talked with several students from this class, and they described me how they remember those events, and it was fascinating to hear different stories about the same event. It was like a Rashomon, and then I used how to say, probably 10 different characters we blended together into 6. I mean, it was necessary so we could tell the story in an effective way. It's the last character that we invented was the character of the Chinese student, and this was an important character. He has only 2 lines, but the lines that are actually underlying the core of the soul of our nation, I would say. I mean, and we needed someone who is who can give us some kind of a reflection, and that's why it was necessary that is someone that is not part of of this cultural space.
Somebody looking from the outside
Yeah,
onto us all. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Yeah, that sounds great. But so if we move on to maybe the making of the film again. So I did happen to notice that you did a wide variety of jobs on Class Enemy. You didn't only direct the film, you co-wrote the scripts with Nate Gazvoda and Janis Lapine, and you were an editor as well. So I was just wondering, why is that? Do you feel passion for these different positions, or I don't know, do you believe it's important for the director to have full control over the creative process? I mean, would you potentially call yourself an auteur director?
I mean, I was working in this way from the early beginning. I mean, all my students' films were done in the same way. So I would say for myself that I know how to write, how to direct, how to edit. I know how to handle the camera. I mean, I'm not saying that I know everything, but I can't imagine not to be involved in all those creative parts while I'm trying to tell my story. But I'm really well aware that you always need co-workers who should be always better than you, because with their help the film is getting even better. So you should always try to get the best possible crew around you, the best possible actors. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't work with the first timers. I'm not saying this because sometimes the passion that someone is showing is 100 times more valuable than that you have a big name that maybe don't have 10% of that passion. So you always have to know what you need, what you are looking for, and try to get the best from this perspective.
So I believe we received a question from the audience. So we have a question from Nika from Slovenia. She would like to know if you could give an advice, or what advice you could give to students and also to teachers.
It's a quite philosophical question. I mean, to
maybe to students first.
I mean, I can say and give answer in that way, that the most important thing is to communicate, to exchange different I mean, to communicate. That's the most important, because as you can see in class enemy, if they would be able to communicate in a normal way, half of those things would never happen. And the same is in our country at this moment. People stopped communicating, although they are using all possible social media, and I think that never in history there was so many communication, but at the same time no one was listening to each other. So I think this is the most crucial thing, to be able to listen to each other.
But yeah, I mean, arguably nowadays it's really hard to listen because you don't know where the person communicating with you or trying to communicate with you will be. You know, there's so many different avenues. There's, you know, the social media. So I suppose, I don't know, I do have a question about that as well. What do you think about, you know, the way our society is going as cinema goers, as spectators? Do you think, I don't know, is that a positive way forward? You know, that everything is online. Look at us today. We're in the online space. So what would you say? What do you think about
that? I didn't get used to it at all, and as I said 10 minutes before we start with the live broadcast, that I don't know how this will look like, because I will definitely miss the communication with the audience. I mean, I had, I don't know, 100 of Q&As in my career, and it is always different, but at the same time it's always the same. You know that you will have the feedback from the audience, and you know how to, I mean, you can use this for your orientation. I mean, it's like in the theater. Actually, I should ask my colleagues, actors, what is the feeling to play in a theater while the show is transmitted via Zoom to living room of the viewers. I don't know. I mean, this must be, I don't know, it's something totally new, and I don't like it, to be honest, because it's it's not personal. It's not personal anymore, and we are losing a lot with this. I hope that this won't become a standard. These are extraordinary. That's extraordinary situation that will.
Well, yeah, you know, you gain and you lose. What you lose on the on the swings, you lose on the roundabouts. But you know, it does. There is one benefit to it. We have today's panel unites people across the continent, like I said in the beginning. So there are, I suppose, that you can also recognize some positive outcomes of well, of this crisis, after all. Although, yeah, admittedly, yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard not to have the audience in front of us, but then at least we can't hear them boo. So, you know, no, just kidding. But yeah, so let's move on. We have received another question. So we have a question from George, and he says, I just watched the movie. I am interested in the character arc of the German teacher. He talks a lot about life and the choices we make. In a way, he helped some students change or understand themselves. How does he change?
Good question. I think that he just moves to another high school. That he already missed the train for his change. I mean, we invented his background story, and we also gave a hint for this background story in the photo that he is having on his desk. Actually, you can never see what is on this photo, which is good, because on this photo can be whatever you want. And that's the purpose of it. But this is actually showing, just, I mean, in my theory, that he has some tragedy, or at least emotionally demanding event or some story in his past, and that's the reason why he is like he is. So I don't think that he will change, but definitely the whole experience that he went through affected him. But I think that when he came to a new school, he was the same in a way. I mean, again, it's a theory. Maybe it's the best for George or everyone else that you can invent your own explanation for this. I mean, this is always the easiest way out for the author to leave the open ending, but it's in a way also is giving way more to the audience, because you can always invent your own ending, and I like open endings, so that's why it's actually I'm bad in explaining what could happen, because if I would know a good answer to this, I would put it into the story, but yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
George. It's a lousy answer, but I did my best.
I mean, no, not at all. I mean, it's literally what he said, an independent film. I mean, let's leave Hollywood aside, because with Hollywood, we normally have everything served to us on a silver platter, but all the answers. But that's kind of the charm, because you do see, yeah, like George noticed as well. So Professor Zupan is a very interesting character, and you do see that he is rattled. You know, in the end, he is shocked. You do see that something. I think I could see some change, but yeah, it's an interesting thing to explore, obviously, as spectator. So yeah. Now we have more questions. Now a question from Luca. What does your creative process look like? How do you channel your inspiration?
to be honest, it's quite hard in these days to be creative, because there are so many other fronts open that you have constantly paying attention to other things that are actually not connected with creative process at all. So in the last year, it's quite hard. But otherwise, I like long walks alone in the forest. I hate streets. I have to go cross country, and I like water. I need to walk around the water or rivers. This helps me. I don't know why, but that's the environment that is opening some channel for creativity. Yeah.
So what is it? I mean, obviously with this film, it was partly, well, not really autobiographical, but you did draw on some past experience. But I mean, do you kind of, is that kind of the area where you like to stay, kind of draw from the past, or from the nation's past, or from anything like this? Or do you see yourself, do you ever venture into other, I mean, do you ever go into complete fiction, something that just pops into your head and then just jots it down? And
actually, my new feature is fiction. I mean, it's based on, it's a adaptation of the well-known Croatian novel Dark Mother Earth. It was also translated into English and several other languages. You can get it on Amazon and so on. For me, this is a complete fiction, but I found a lot of situations that I'm quite familiar or very familiar with them from my own experiences, and that's something that dragged me into this story, and why I decided to tell this story in film. So I would say that the most important thing for me is that I have some personal connection with the story, and that I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I couldn't, or at least I imagined I couldn't do a film about something that I don't know, or that yeah, let's leave it like this. Yeah.
okay, yeah, interesting. And we do have one comment. Actually, it's not a question, it's a comment from Tilen, who notices two things that he found interesting. So the first one is the socio-economic class differences, aka privileged students having better protection from their parents. And the second one, gender roles. It seems that the new professor, with his dominant approach, prevails in arguments with the head teacher. However, at some point she asserts her leadership and says, "Na tej školi delamo stvari drugače." So at this school we do things differently. So yeah, that's what Tilen notices as well. That's what Tilen notices. So what do you think about that? Is that something that you wanted to show with the film as well?
I mean,
So
that's part of any society. You always have different classes, and it was necessary to incorporate this perspective into the story as well. I mean, there are several layers in this story. It's just, I mean, I could say that it's like, I mean, watching Class Enemy for the second time, I think it's even better. I mean, maybe this sounds a bit funny that I'm saying this and I'm making this statement, but I mean, there are some layers that you can easily overlook at the first sight, and are also important. And it's like peeling the onion. I mean, with every new layer, you can get additional tier. I mean, it's really a cheap statement now, but I don't know how to express myself better.
So yeah, there's another question from Nika, which ties in to what we've been talking about just now. So she says, I don't want this to come across as rude, and it's probably just me being dumb. No, you're not dumb, Nika, please, language. But I didn't quite get the point of the movie. Like, is there a message it's supposed to have? So Nika wants to know, or maybe let's just say, what's the main message if there's several?
Maybe the main message would be the advice that I give to her, or actually my answer to her first question. What advice would I give to the students and the teachers? I think that we should listen more to each other. I think this is the most important thing. But maybe I'm saying this at this precise moment in which our society is right now, or the whole world.
Okay. Now we have a question from Igor Rashamonov. I was really impressed with the acting, especially of the classmates, even more so hearing they were all amateur. So how did you manage to get them to act so natural and so relaxed? 2 question marks, big question. So did they take any short acting courses, step-by-step learning as the filming progressed, or are they just natural talents?
Young actors were high school students at that time, and only 2 of them had experience with being on film set a couple of years ago. But after the year after the shooting, 3 of them entered the national acting school. But I think that you don't need to have acting classes to know how to act. At least in the way how I worked with actors, is the most important that I get to know them really, really well, and that I can establish some kind of trust, or I mean, not some kind, but real trust, and that we became real friends, and then the magic can happen. I mean, it's just this. It's quite simple, but at the same time, it's not simple at all. Because what you as a director have to achieve is to create an atmosphere on the film set where they can react natural, or spontaneously, or just to react. So if someone is saying something or he's doing something, the other is reacting to this, and that's it. I mean, again, it sounds quite easy, but it's not. But that's it. You don't need anything else. What is acting school bringing to the actors is that it's helping them to develop some kind of skills that they can use in situation where they have problems to react properly, and they have different tools, let's say, tools or skills, and they know how to use them and bring the right reaction with the help of these tools. But
How about
every person has this knowledge somewhere deep inside, and you just have to unlock this drawer, and everyone can be an actor.
okay, so are you telling me I'm going to win an Oscar one day then?
Probably not, because you won't get a role in the right film. But maybe, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but look, I mean, how many Oscar were how many actors won Oscars and they never attended any acting school. So
true. So there's hope for me.
There's
hope for me. But anyway, I was going to ask you. So so you worked with non-professional actors, and we had, like we said earlier, you had professional actors as well. Did you keep them apart? I mean, to establish the mood, because you said that they had to react. Did that mean that they had to be kept apart from Igor, who played the professor, or how did that work?
Yeah, again, while I was doing class enemy, I didn't have a lot of experiences with this, and one of the theories was that we shouldn't allow our young students to become friends with Igor on a private basis. After the shooting, they could go for a coffee, smoke cigarettes together, talk about Igor's past experience. He would be explaining them how to do something, and you know how these things can go. They would become best friends in 1 week, and then it will be quite hard for them to act in a way like they should act. But if I said to myself, if I can manage to prevent that they become friends, then it will be a way easier for young actors not to be friends with them in front of the camera. And that's why we didn't have any rehearsal with young actors and the professor. And on the shooting, we had a special classroom for Igor, for the teacher, and after his scene, he went to that classroom and he was there all alone. And when he needed to come back on the set, my assistant called him and he came. So there was no interaction between him and young actors before the shooting or on the set. So the first real I mean, except at the rap party. I mean, but that's something different. Yeah, rap parties are rap parties. Yeah.
True, but it's over by then, so it doesn't
really
matter anymore.
I don't remember my rap party, I have to admit. Yeah.
You don't? Okay. So it must have been. Well, yeah, it must have been a very special experience. We do have a couple of other questions. We have a question from Vasya. So, Rok, why did you decide on handheld camera, or did you decide on a handheld camera?
Handheld camera, it was part of the style. I want camera to breathe and to achieve the impression that this audience is there, that you are part of this classroom, and that you are a fly on the wall and you're observing what is going on in the classroom. Probably we could achieve something similar with really static camera as well, but in a way you are more flexible with the handheld camera. You can work faster, and we didn't have a lot of shooting days. I think 24, I'm not sure, but not a lot. And with having camera on the tripod, this will took us 1 quarter of a time more at least. So whenever you don't have a lot of time, it's better to go handheld. I mean, that's my opinion.
And a question from Christina. So I want to know, she says, I want to know, how did you shoot, like the process, and which scenes were shot first and which last? Maybe we can focus on the final bit. What did you shoot first and what did you shoot last?
I remember the last shot was in the library when the students are preparing this radio show, when they're making a plan of what they will do. So this was the last shot that we done, but I think the first was something on the first floor, but I can't remember, because it's funny that we were forced to shot first I think that I know. The first scene was scene with the social worker. This was the first shooting day. Because the octopus scene, yes. Oh, yeah. Because we got the high school for 1 month, but during the summer holidays, but at the 2 weeks before the ending of the summer holidays, there is already a lot of things going on in the school. You have these exams, and professors need to prepare for the new year, and they gave us the school for 1 month, but after first week we had to clear the ground floor and first floor. So everything that is taking place on the ground floor or in the first floor had to be done by the end of the first week of shooting. So the whole shooting plan was done actually on the basis of the location. So what is in which floor, and then we went from ground floor, first floor, second floor, and so on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
Completely illogical, but that's the way how it works in film.
Yeah, I guess it's all down to the practical part, right? You can't really control things from the outside. We've also, because we need to wrap up very soon, but we do have a very interesting question from Tilen. So he says, I understand that trust can help a lot in acting. However, does this undermine the importance of national acting schools? Do we need trained, educated actors for good movies or not?
Absolutely, we need them. I mean, if we look at Class Enemy, without the best actors that we have in Slovenia, we could never done the Class Enemy. It's just the question of the type of the story or the type of the movie that you would like to make. And maybe I was not precise in one of my previous answers. When I'm talking about non-professional actors, I'm referring to the fact that they have some kind of energy, or work with them is bringing the results that I'm interested in personally, something that I love to see on screen. It's not the universal truth. I mean, just my way of looking on filmmaking. So don't get me wrong that I'm underestimating the acting school. Not at all. I think that it would be great if we could have more acting or filmmaking topics in high school, or even in primary school, because I would say that the new generations are although they are bombarded with audio visual content on every step, they are not well educated in audiovisual sense. I mean, they are in the same way like my generation was, but I'm already old in this sense. I mean, when I was the first mobile phones came when I was at the end of primary school, so the really basic mobile phones. So
The brick.
yeah. So what I want to say is that the level of audiovisual content in the schools is, I would say, almost on the same level. But at the same time, the development went so fast that yeah, it's in a way scary that we stayed so behind.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's and I feel like it's really kind of daunting that we lack concentration as individuals and motivation. So, we can't actually master the concentration to finish a feature-length film, for example. Well, some people perhaps, which is kind of a weird way that we're moving into. But that's dark thinking, dark thoughts. Let's just we have a few more questions left if everyone's okay with that. So maybe if you could give us a few of your influences, any directors or movements that have inspired you that you'd like to share or recommend to us.
For me, it was really important while I was in film school, the Romanian new wave. I mean, it was just in that time when I was in film school, and it had a significant impact on me. I must say this. But from the classics, I would say Kieślowski, Decalogue, for example, or yeah. But the biggest impact was Romanian New Wave. Yeah, definitely. I remember when 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days came to the cinemas in Slovenia. I went to see it, I think, 7 times in a row. I mean, in 1 month. So at one point, the lady on that was selling the tickets, she asked me, "Weren't you here yesterday?" Yeah, I was. Thank you. It was.
So did she let you go for free then?
No.
Oh no. Okay.
No, this was in Colosseum. So if this being in Cinematech, they would let me in for free, for sure. But she first sold me the ticket and then she asked me. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so it was too late anyway. Right. So we do have one question from Nina. Do you see future from cinema? So that's Nina Milosic from Facebook. Do you see a future for cinemas as we know them now? So, film theater type of.
I can't imagine the future without cinemas. I mean,
good.
What question from Nina? I know that this is it's not a provocation, but she would like to hear something. But I'm honestly thinking that there is no future without cinema. I mean,
so you don't think about that alternative universe where cinemas don't exist?
Definitely, we enter a new era, and nothing will be the same again. Definitely. So VOD is on the march now, and but at the same time, the cinema cannot I mean, I cannot imagine world without cinema, because this is, in a way, this is a way of living also. I mean, this is a ceremony, like professor is saying in the film, that we need ceremonies, and cinema is ceremony. And you know that you have to buy a ticket, you have to take time, you enter the dark room, and you are there surrounded with the complete strangers, and at some moment the magic happens, and you become one with the whole cinema, and you enjoy, and you are crying there, you are laughing there, surrounded with complete strangers. I mean, if this is not magic, I don't know what is magic. And people will always like this, and they will want to get this. So that's why I think that cinemas will survive, because it's a basic market principle. If someone wants something, then there will be someone who will sell him this. And if we are willing to buy a ticket, then till this moment the cinema will be there. So it's important to buy tickets. It's important to buy tickets.
Absolutely, but I feel like maybe, you know, once this COVID shambles is over, everyone will just, I just need to get out of the house. Yes, cinema, let's go. You know, so I feel like maybe, you know, after this whole debacle, after this whole mess with COVID, people will be cinema will be even more important, even more popular pastime. So yeah, let's hope for that, right? But maybe one last question for you. So you gave us an advice earlier at the beginning. You gave us an advice, but maybe have you got any, you know, general advice to somebody who wishes to follow in your footsteps and become a filmmaker? Something that you could maybe tell them.
If this guy is from Slovenia, I would suggest him to move out. Seriously, don't do the mistake that I did and I stayed here. I mean, I grew up in a countryside, and for me it was already a big step to go to Ljubljana. But there is no real future for filmmakers in this country. And I'm not saying this because of the situation that was going on in the last 8 months, when Slovenian cinema industry was completely blocked because of the government decision. This is just the peak of the iceberg. I'm referring to the last 30 years, the politics of the last 30 years in Slovenia, and we can go even further. I mean, I'm always surprised that in the previous regime, in socialism, where we all know, or at least filmmakers, we all know what Lenin said, that the film is the most important part of the art, and that's why it should be also supported in that way. Because I mean, he knew very well why film is, what is the strength of the film and the power. But although the film should have an important role in our society, in Slovenia, he never got this position. Neither in socialism, neither in so-called democracy. It was always the art that no one actually knew what to do with it. It was there because it has to be, but no one has enough of courage to just kill it. But with the peanuts that were given to the film industry, we were dying from year to year. And now, after 30 years, there is nothing left here. I mean,
But don't you think that maybe prolific filmmakers like yourself could potentially change the situation, or maybe help facilitate change, kind
no,
of get, you
no,
know,
no. It's
the
a
ball rolling?
Don Quixotic fight.
Oh,
I thought the same, and I was involved from 2013 when I became, in a way, uh, public figure in terms of filmmakers. Because before 2013, no one knew for me, but after Class Enemy, in every interview that I gave, I was trying to sell our agenda, and I was pointing out the problems of the film industry.
mhm.
And what has changed till now? Nothing. So, I mean, it's not that I'm pessimistic. I'm just talking from my own experiences. Till the moment when there will be a politic will for something, for the change, till this moment we can do whatever we want, nothing will change. Because the amount of money that we are talking about is so small that it is actually, in the sense of the government budget, it is on a level of a statistic mistake. We are talking about million, 2 millions.
So
What is
that's
this
the money.
in terms of government budget?
So that's the amount that the Slovenian Film Center receives for its
The Slovenian
productions.
Film Center receives 4 millions per year, 4.5. At, in the past, at one point, Film Center should get 8, but I think that he never got 8. But there are some calculation that if we would like to have a normal film industry, we would need 11 millions.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, there's
But
a
we will never
big
get
difference.
those 11 millions because there is no political will for this. But if we ask ourselves, what is 11 million euros? If we now compare this to all the investments that were done in the last 8 months, that was for sure necessary, but a lot of them were also a big mistakes. And no one is talking about those mistakes. If they would, the politicians, if they would do a mistake in favor of filmmakers on a way lower level, all the problems of filmmakers would be solved.
But maybe, you know, maybe if the viewers, if we show the way, then perhaps, you know, well, the filmmakers will get that impetus to get, you know, to start some positive change.
I have a good advice.
Yes,
For young audience tonight.
Let's hear it.
They should invest into foreign language and to learn English as well as you are speaking it, and then go out of this country.
Okay.
And that's it. That's
well,
it.
But maybe, you know, maybe I wouldn't, you know, I don't want to lose hope. You know, I just want to say, let's just all, you know, when this.
But you are saying this and you're sitting in London.
Not in London, no. Yeah, but yeah.
In UK.
Close. Yeah. Well, that's true.
Oh,
that's
come
true.
back. Come back.
I will. Yeah, I'm planning. You know, I want change. I'm optimistic enough. So I feel like, you know, if we all, you know, after this COVID shit, sorry, pardon my French, is over, then maybe if we all go, you know, and go buy tickets, and then hopefully, but first we need to do something about politics, about education. I feel like that's what you said earlier about education, about the inclusion of audiovisual material in school curriculums is a brilliant thing. But yeah, so I suppose education is key. But yeah, I mean, I'm afraid this is all we've got time for today. So yeah, hopefully we shouldn't lose hope. And but hopefully, above all, we can't wait to see, you know, more of your work, Rok. So you say you're working on something now, so we can't wait to see it. Have you got a vague idea maybe when that will be out in cinemas?
First, we have to overcome the COVID situation, and then we need to secure the funding. I mean, these are two big question marks in this story. I mean, I don't know. And to be honest, I wouldn't dare to say when, because it's really totally unpredictable. I would like that this would happen next year. I can say this, but that we will shoot it next year. But only God knows.
Well, fingers crossed. I feel like we're all keeping our fingers crossed for you. But yeah, so we have to wrap up for today. Rok Biček, thank you so much again for being here. It's been a wonderful discussion. And yeah, so we all look forward to seeing more of you in the future. And yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Kino Ptuj, and thank you, the audience, for being with us. It was a nice experience.
So yeah, hopefully the next time we'll be back in the physical world, or who knows, maybe we'll be in both in the physical and the online world at the same time. Who knows where we're going? But anyhow, it will be a pleasure to see you again. And I need to thank also the partner cinemas working under the umbrella of Resonance Cinema. Yes, I said it correctly now. Cinema House, Kino Urania, and Tisza Mozi. And also, we couldn't pull this off today without the passion, motivation, and tenacity of Tina Maroch and the team from Ptuj, Nina Milosic and Žiga Pavlovic, as well as, of course, the support of the Slovenian film database. And finally, a big thank you goes out to everyone who turned up. Thank you for your question. You've been a brilliant virtual audience. And remember, today's event will be available on Resonance Cinema's YouTube channel. So feel free to like and subscribe, and hope to see you at the future events. So yeah, so stay strong, everyone. Goodbye.